Unlike manufacturers' guidelines for oil changes, which are overly cautious, the recommendations for spark plug replacement intervals tend to be overly optimistic. For example, if you've already got 80,000 miles on a set of 100,000-mile plugs, they're 80% worn and beginning to take a toll on engine performance and gas mileage. Worse yet, after that many miles, spark plugs have a tendency to seize in the cylinder head. Removing a seized plug can be a costly job, especially if the threads in the cylinder head are damaged in the process. When you consider the gas mileage fall-off and the possibility of seized plugs, early replacement makes sense. Not all spark plugs are rated for 100,000 miles. In fact, some car makers recommend replacement at 30,000-mile intervals. So always follow the spark plug service intervals shown in your owner's manual. But if you can't remember when you last changed your spark plugs, you can pull them and check the gap and their condition. Once you've put in the labor to do that, however, you may as well change them and establish a new baseline for the future. Blast compressed air around the spark plugs to prevent grud from falling into the cylinders. Then blow any remaining loose dirt off the engine before you set out your tools and new plugs. Start by removing the plastic vanity cover, if equipped, and the air cleaner assembly from the top of the engine, if necessary. Be sure to label any vacuum hoses you remove so you get them back in the right place. Then clean the top of a 4-cylinder engine, or the banks on a V engine, before you remove other parts. Step 2. Twist the spark plug connector cap about a quarter turn to break the O-ring seal loose. Then lift it straight up and out. Some COP systems have a detachable rubber boot and spring. If they don't come out with the coil, retrieve them with needle nose pliers and replace them with new parts. If your car doesn't use COP ignition, simply pull the boots off the plugs. Slide the proper size spark plug socket over the plug. A swivel head spark plug socket makes the job much easier. You'll probably need an extension of some length to reach the plug. Rotate the plug counterclockwise to loosen it. Not all engines leave the plugs as accessible as shown here. The more compact the engine compartment, the harder it will be to get to the plugs. But all plugs can be removed. Always check the spark plug gap before installing it, using a gap gauge. Slide the correct size gauge between the electrodes. The shim should drag slightly between them. If the gap is too small, open it with the gap gauge. Or small screwdriver. If the gap is too large, tap the side electrode lightly on a solid surface. Apply a thin coating of dielectric grease around the inside of the spark plug boot before reinstalling the coil. The grease prevents misfires and makes it easier to remove the boot in the future. Then reinstall the ignition coil. Hold down bolt and coil electrical connector. Finally, reinstall the air cleaner and vanity cover and fire it up. Enjoy the extra power and gas savings. Follow the same procedure for non-COP ignition system boots.